Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for connecting even today to the third session of our series, Future-Proof Your Organization with the Black Swan Capabilities. I want to just remind that this is an initiative that we launched in order, as Jellify, in order to share ideas from us, from our clients, our partners, about how to face economic downturn and crisis emergencies like we are living now. Using the paradigm of the black swan. Today, we will talk about supply chain. We know that supply chain is a key topic now because, of course, we come from decades of optimization of the supply chain based on the minimization of the stocks and minimization of the cost. So efficiency was the key topic. Now, probably efficiency has to be balanced with the ability to do business even in a shortage of supply. So today we will talk about this topic with a number of guests. Let's introduce all the guests that we will have today, starting from Lucia, who will lead the session.
Hi everybody, I'm Lucia, Managing Partner Jellify Group, and I lead what we call the Phygital Factory. I'm very happy to introduce you the three special guest and speaker for today. So, Andrea.
Hello, Lucia. My name is Adi. I'm from Italy. I'm the CEO and founder of Yungo, a software company that realized that produce a supply chain collaboration.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andrea, and welcome. Vassim, welcome also to you.
I think, Wasim, you are in mute. Sorry.
Wasim.
Thanks, Lucia. It's a pleasure to be part of this today. I'm Wasim Al-Khayyat. I'm the CTO of Hike and the Group Director of Technology and Innovation of Axiom. Hi, everyone, and good afternoon from Dubai.
Again, welcome, Vassim. And then we have Antonio. Antonio, welcome on board also to you.
Thank you, Lucia. Hi, everyone. I'm the CEO of a company called TechHQ, and we focus especially on disruptive innovation, especially in supply chain and manufacturing.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Actually, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Massimo Gannizzo. I am the CEO of Jellify Middle East, but I am in particular here the sponsor of this initiative. Just for who doesn't know me, Jellify, let me say three words about who we are. The Jellify word is an ecosystem and the innovation ecosystem where we work at the same time with startups, with investors, and with organizations, public and private organizations. Actually, we try to remove some fragmentation in the innovation ecosystem by providing services to startups, even investments, to provide opportunities for investment to investors, and providing consulting and advisory to the companies. In any case, this session is for other purposes. You can learn more, you can read more about us in the links that you see in the bottom right part of the slide. So let's go to the next slide that is introducing our initiative. So COVID-19 is a black swan. Somebody, even the inventor of black swan theory, has a different opinion. But we think that the business community, top management of most of the community had no idea that an event like COVID-19 could happen. The reason why we believe all the conditions for a black swan appears. Actually, next slide wants to also introduce the black swan concept to who doesn't know very well. This was created by Nassim Taleb from Lebanon. He's a philosopher and economist who created this view, this point of view, and this vision about the black swan theory. A black swan event is when there is a surprise and nobody could expect this. The observers are just reacting as in an unprecedented case. And when this event has a major effect, a big impact. And especially when thinking better, ex post, let me say, after the event happened, maybe you think you could have planned something to do in this. But the reaction should not be just to be robust to manage this kind of effort, because robust is good for one single small event that happens one night, but not when it's a period of crisis. For sure, resilience is better, but resilience in the best case is bringing back you to the same position you could have before. That is good enough, by the way. But the anti-fragile capabilities are those that are allowing you to create, during the crisis, some, let me say, competitive component that is bringing you in an upfront position in the restart. And this is exactly where we want to touch with this series, to look at where we can identify ideas to become stronger and become anti-fragile for the future. So let me share with you a video that is the trailer of this series. Thought that to build the anti-fragile capabilities, black swans capabilities, is not just a matter of technology, even if digital technology has a big role, but it's a full company transformation. Actually, we say and we believe that COVID-19 is not bringing new solutions, it's just accelerating the transformations that were already running in terms of remote working, in terms of agile methodologies, in terms of digital adoption. So we wanted to build a framework that is looking at the full company. And this framework is dividing the company sectors in 7 areas. And we identified 7 imperatives for each area that we develop in 3 innovation perspectives. Ideas to staying relevant now, to survive somehow. Ideas for the relaunch, so be ready to take the business as much as possible, as soon as possible, but even more to lead in the new normal, in the future. Today, we will focus, as I said before, about the anti-fragility beyond ourselves. Today, the supply chains and the ecosystems are connecting us with a very complex environment. Today, Lucia, Wassim, Antonio, and Andrea will help us to better understand something that we can do now to have a better future. Thank you very much. Lucia, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Massimo. Before introducing you the journey we will have today together, I would like to say a big thank to our partner, ESIL. It is a supply chain educational consortium working at global level. And also thanks to our friends from ESIL. We have people from Italy, Emirates, Spain, United States, Colombia, UK, Sweden, Paraguay, Malaysia, Lebanon, India, France, Argentina. So guys, welcome on board to everybody. So the journey will be split into 3 steps. The first step will allow us to better understand the challenges of supply chain, and also which are the key elements to move to what we can call the new normal. Second, we will try to design together the supply chain on the future. We will show you what we call the anti-fragility framework that is crucial today to survive from the crisis, but also to design the new normal. Then we will try to go at a deeper level into this framework, thanks to the support of our special guests, speakers, who will help us to touch some viable and innovative use cases into our framework, covering what we can call the supplier collaborative models and platform, the seamless connectivity that is crucial, specifically also in supply chain, and then blockchain specifically used for the design of new business models. So let's try to understand that this dimension, the ecosystem dimension. Today, businesses are connected through a unique integrated supply chain. In this ecosystem, the behavior of all companies impacts every single element of the ecosystem. For this reason, we can say that the supply chain, in the supply chain of the future, the concept of individuals will disappear, and we will have the concept of the system, because the quality of the product, of the service we can offer to our customer is generated by the intersections of inside this ecosystem, by an efficient and an effective synergy across all the actors in the value chain. But during last decade, we have focused our effort on supply chain optimization. That was good to minimize cost, to reduce inventories, and to drive up the asset utilization. Good for operational efficiency, for operational excellence. But we lost completely what we can call flexibility. Yes, because we remove the buffers, and consequently we have reduced, or in some cases removed, the ability to absorb disruptions like COVID situation right now. But fortunately, technologies can help us. Yes, because technologies can help a company ability to resist shocks like COVID. We can leverage advanced technology like Internet of Things, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, in order to meet the existing challenges and even the future ones. So we can say that the traditional linear supply chain will be transformed step by step into a network, into a digital supply network, where we don't have anymore the functional silos, but we will have interconnected players. So we can say that the digital transformation can help us to rebuild the flexibility lost during the last decade, and reaching end-to-end visibility, collaboration, agility, and again, optimization, but in a new way. So in Jellyfy, we built what we call the anti-fragility framework for this new ecosystem, for our supply chain. I would like to explore with you quickly the elements of this framework, and then we will have a deep dive with our guests on some of these elements. First of all, the basics, guys. We have to create access to data and traceability of data. You can do it in a very smart and easy way. You don't have to build a cathedral in your company. You can implement smart and digital solution, and you can have transparency, efficiency, and also a clear responsibility to all the actors in the value chain. Then you can build the visibility in real time or near real time, thanks to some specific digital platforms that can allow you to assess the capacity, in real time and secure the delivery to your customers. Actually, with the situation we are living now, we know how crucial is the skills, the access to skills, the access to competencies, because some of them are leaving a skill shortage that is limiting the everyday operational activities. Actually, with a review of some processes and organizational structure, but also with the integration of new technology into these processes, we can increase and make more robust the access to these crucial competencies that we need in supply chain everyday life. Then, KPI monitoring, of course, that we can reach with even advanced tools, not only to monitor the performance indicators, but also to identify the crucial, critical parameters that drive the performance and identify a potential action plan for improvement. Proactive interaction. We can simply receive alarm suggestion from what I can call the machines ecosystem to speed up our processes. And then automation. Automation doesn't mean that we simply digitalize the existing process with the digital technologies. No, we have probably to revise the existing process, improve and reinforce with a digital solution, cutting some repetitive activities, freeing up resources in order to reduce, of course, the human error in our everyday life. Moving to more advanced technologies, we can build forecasting. Yes, because we can apply specific model, existing or innovative, to the forecasting of the demand and to the prediction of all the critical parameters in the supply chain. Then, based on these forecasting activities, we can build models and plans for potential scenarios where we can put together some apparently conflicting parameters in order to build the directions for the future. Then, optimization. Here, we think that we can use really advanced artificial intelligence algorithm that can help us to automatically schedule and plan production, for example, or whatever activities in our everyday life. Finally, blockchain. Blockchain, of course, can be used as an everyday approach to trace, follow, and of course, certify our products. But we will see today, together with Antonio, we can also use it to build a totally new business model to print revenue. Diversification. Diversification probably is the key topic today, because we have to diversify our supply chain, not only from the geographical point of view, but also from in terms of supplier dimension, supplier technology, supplier typology, and even the technology infrastructure. Finally, probably the most important, new collaborative models. Yes, because we can use technologies and new interaction across the different players along the value chain to actually push what we are doing today and build even new potential business direction in a collaborative way. We would like to highlight some specific of these elements of our anti-fragility framework to build our recipe, let me say, for staying relevant. So the urgent actions we have to put in place to come out from this crisis. Then for the relaunch, in order to rebuild, refresh our company in a smart way. And then to design and lead in the new norm. I would like to discover these elements together with our guests. So with Andrea, we try to better understand how we can implement in a smart way solution for end-to-end visibility and habilitate the access to competencies in our company or in general in our ecosystem. Together with Vasim, we will discover how we can actually build completely new scenarios to be prepared for the new normal and the new normal and the new normal. And then actually, I would like to give you a provocation together with Antonio, discovering how actually blockchain can be useful to design new revenue model, not only for our company, but for the entire ecosystem, for the entire supply chain. So let's start together with Andrea, CEO of Yungo. So Andrea, welcome again together with us. Ciao Andrea.
Hello, thank you Lucia.
Fantastic. So Andrea, I would like to have you on board because I would like you to describe the solution that you put in place in order to have a smart tool to allow visibility on the supply chain. And I would like also to have your vision about it, since you work with totally different companies, actually, big, small, from different industries. So we are happy to listen to you, Andrea.
Thank you very much, Lucia. I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to start from the end. So I'd like to answer to the question of today's session, and that is if emergency can be a catalyst for the supply chain of the future. And my answer is really yes. Is a very power yes, because in my opinion is radically changing the intervention priorities. The emergency that we are passing is giving priority to things that were already known, but now become necessary for survival. If you
Exactly.
the 3V framework introduced more or less 20 years ago from Gartner, the 3V were visibility, variability, and velocity. I think that now it represents the main element for the competitiveness of the companies. So I think it's very important to go in this direction. So let's go ahead. Who is Yungo? Yungo is a supply chain collaboration platform that use what we call the Yungo Mail to digitalize the purchasing process. The distinctive element of Yungo lies in the technology of Yungo Mail. What is Yungo Mail? It's a technology that allows less structured suppliers, which however are the vast majority. Gartner say that they represent more or less the 70 or 80% of the global number of companies. The suppliers need to interact, are able to interact specifically with a very easy instrument like the Yungo Mail. So the distinctive element of the Yungo Mail is the technology, let me say that allow this kind of suppliers to easily interact with a digitized supply chain collaboration platform. Some numbers about Yungo. You can see we work this approach based on the easy capability of the supplier to interact has led us to make projects all over the world, as you can see, with companies from different product sectors and above all of different sizes. This is the core, the capability to interact with different sectors and different sizes. We manage about 350 customers active for exchanging orders or structured communication or business communication, with about 75,000 of suppliers daily. It is very interesting what Gartner said about our technology, because last year we have been mentioned in a couple of research, and they especially underline that it's very interesting the capability of the Yungo Mail to be a new, for their vision of course, a new system, a new method for business to business ecosystem integration. Because talking to them and what appeared the main problem in digitizing supply chain collaboration is the ability to onboard, to involve all the suppliers. This is the core aspect in this kind of project. So, and this is what you can see now some examples of our customers, and they are interesting. It is interesting to highlight that these are very different companies. Some large, some small, some very small, and that works in a different market. In my opinion, to digitize the supply chain belongs to all companies, but the approach to reach the supply chain digitization need to consider the characteristics of each companies and of course, and mainly of each supplier base, which can be very different. So the core is the capability to interact, to collaborate, to automatically integrate all the different size and competencies, let me say.
And this is, Andrea, this is crucial for the supply chain diversification that we have to put in place in order to rebuild the flexibility. Because if I think about some supply chain digital solutions that usually are suitable only to big corporations, or on the other side, usually we are approached to evaluate small and easy solution for small and medium companies. Actually, we create a sort of a barrier and we don't build actually an integrated ecosystem. So a solution that can actually be valuable for all typology of companies is crucial for the supply chain diversification.
Yes, and I think it's also important, the capability when you digitalize your supply chain to modify it, because especially now we need, and we see that our customer need to immediately change the supplier base, because for example a specific place is not able to ship, so they have to look for new suppliers in a different place immediately. And if you need months to activate the suppliers, you are dead.
Exactly, you're dead. So it is not just a question to have a new system to support a new strategy, but also to be flexible during time, because I can have the need to change from the day to the other. But how does it work? Can you describe the solution better, maybe to be inspired, to be provoked for our life?
Yes. To give you an idea of how the Yungo technology works, Yungo, which is now in the slide in the middle, integrates with the company ERP from one side, with the customer company ERP, from which it automatically retrieve the flow to be exchanged with suppliers, purchase orders, delivery plan, and so on. And is updated automatically from Yungo, the ERP system, on the basis of the information received from the suppliers, all purchase order confirmation, advanced shipping notes, and so on. The supplier, and this is the core aspect of Yungo, the supplier can choose the technology to interact and to connect with the Yungo platform. As you can see in this slide, the supplier can use the Yungo Mail, which is the easier system, with the same, of course, functionalities of all the other systems, because we have not a reduction of functionalities, but is the easier way with everybody all over the world, with any kind of operating system, in any kind of language can do. And what we can see is that if you let the supplier to choose how to communicate, how to integrate with the Yungo platform, this is the result that we measure now. The 75,000 suppliers are, in the majority of them, using the Yungo Mail. In a little part of them, you can see less than 1%, they are using the web portal interface of the Yungo network using username and password. and a lower part of them using the Yungo connector, which is the EDI, the electronic data interface of the Yungo platform. This is very interesting because it means that the large majority of suppliers want and is able to work only with the easier system, easier technology. The 99% of the suppliers using Yungo Mail, they are in, we discussed this also with partners and also with Garden to define what are the characteristics of this kind of suppliers. And they, we reached that in this chart, there are two different types of suppliers. The ones which are not able to manage a digitalized system, which are more or less, this is an information coming from Gartner, between 70% and 80%, which are the majority, because all over the world, companies are able to manage, to integrate directly with an automatic electronic system. But another part, important, is made of suppliers that do not want to integrate with the customer system.
Exactly.
And it's important because if you are the customer and you want to be you want to increase the velocity, and you want to increase the visibility of your supply chain, you need to see all the supply chain, not only a part of the supply chain. So the main things is onboard all the supplier base, because this is what you can really allow you to obtain all your benefits. Consider.
So the flexibility on the technology can allow you to have everybody on board and actually build the visibility on the entire ecosystem.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Consider, last week, a young customer called us, is a company that produces oxygen bottles for hospitals. They are using Yungo, and they told us, consider the weeks we passed last weeks, they told us that in 1 week, they were able, using Yungo, with all the supplies, to triple, to multiply for 3 the numbers of supplies to the hospitals with all the purchasing people working at home. This is the core of the digitalization of supply chain collaboration. You can work faster, better, and everywhere.
Exactly, because now with the social distance, the risk is that people is not able to, especially when you speak about administration tools, that they are not able to manage the supply chain at home because they don't have the tools on their laptop. And actually with a smart solution like this, you can cut the social distance totally, I would say. Before closing, I would like to raise you a question. Since you work with totally different companies, small, medium, big, and super big, and actually in totally different industries, do you see they have a need in common, a specific need in common in this crisis period or even before?
What we say is that they have two needs now. They need to manage, because it's very important. They need to see their supply chain, and they need to see the supply chain working at home. This is not natural. This is not so easy, because yesterday they were used to work in the same office. So a lot of information were not in the ERP system, were not structured in a certain place. So they need really to digitalize the supply chain. They need to see what's happening, because now everything is changing faster than before, and they need to work at home. I think it could be something very easy, but it's changing the way in which they are working.
Thanks, Andrea. It's clear that in order to visibility is crucial now, okay, to manage the contingency, but it is also a, let me say, a brick we have to build to design also the new normal. Thank you so much. Let's now to continue our journey with another friend, Vasim. Vasim, are you there?
Yes, hi Lucia, can you hear me?
Fantastic. Welcome again. I would like now to have a step forward with you, Vasim, and moving into the not only the management of the ecosystem, but the creation of new business model opportunities inside the ecosystem. So actually you have a fantastic story to tell, I would say, because you have really perceived the need into a bigger corporation like Axiom Telecom, and then you fix this need with a super innovative solution like Hike. So the stage is yours and we follow you.
Thanks, Lucia. So this is exactly, I think, what I'm gonna do in the next slide is really to explain where and how Hike is coming to life and let's say the concept behind it, and also show what we've done so far, and hopefully also share some results of what we're doing. So just to introduce what is Hike, I mean, Hike is a B2B platform, and it provides technology and logistic infrastructure, and also it provides a market reach for manufacturers and distributors and retailers to engage in a frictionless environment, and it's really bring that interaction between those players to be efficient across all domains within the supply chain. So we started, let's say, our work in Hike focus on a specific category, which is the telecom industry. And I'll explain here why, because also Hike is, yes, it's a startup, but it's actually an integral part of a group called Axiom. Whoever is not connected from the UAE probably doesn't know the group. Axiom Group is the leader in the telecom distribution industry. It actually covers the end-to-end distribution from excluding manufacturing. It covers everything. So it manages the warehouses, it manages the inventory, it also manages the distribution to wholesalers, to big corporate supermarkets, and it also has its own network of retails and e-commerce. So when of course, I mean, as far as the industry is big, and Axiom today has a 60% of the market share within as a distributor within the Middle East. As far as those numbers are amazing, we operate, or Axiom operates in let's say a challenging industry, right? Which is the logistics and supply chain, and let's say the industry today has a lot of challenges. Some of them are internal, some of them internal to the industry itself, and some of them are also external. Just to mention some of the internal, let's say, challenges. For example, there is a lot of fragmentation across the supply chain. There is no visibility, for example, for the manufacturer or the distributor. So they don't know exactly where are their products in a specific time. There is a lot of course, that fragmentation also give a discontinued, let's say, experience for the retailers that they order and they get delivered. So those are all internal challenges. And of course, when we looked at Hike as a startup, we started also to address these challenges. Now, of course, in this industry, there's a lot of other challenges which are more external. If I may mention some of these, for example, today we are competing, especially we also in the lockdown that happened, more and more the e-commerce they all win, right? So it's and unfortunately the retail and the B2B didn't really have this experience that is very customer driven. It's very digital driven. So more and more we see also those players are coming into new industries, specifically on the logistics, and let's say they are tapping on and let's say leveraging their already existing e-commerce, such as Amazon or others, right? So if we can get to the next slide, and here we're actually Axiom as a group started to build let's say it has envisioned Hike as a platform that is actually bringing automation, and it's connecting the end-to-end supply chain of the telecom industry. It's really a platform that is connecting manufacturers and distributors to logistics, whether that domestic or international logistics. Today we started only with the logistics side, with the domestic logistics, and then from that it reach, let's say, the retailers. Today we're talking about Hike is reaching 10,000 plus retailers in UAE and Saudi. So today we cover, let's say, the entire supply chain. So distributors, they can connect, they can, of course, sell their products through the platform. Of course, from their side, they have now full visibility. So the platform is giving them end-to-end visibility and product traceability. It's giving also a clear visibility on the channel performance. So the distributor can actually, again, get a clear visibility on how his products are performing in the market. Then, of course, Hike manage the distribution side. So we have our fleet. So the entire, let's say, ordering and delivery experience, so that the dealers can really browse different products from different distributors, and they can order and they get delivered. Now, today we have a very interesting also efficiency around deliveries. And as you can imagine, B2B is a different from B2C. So a B2C next day delivery is very, very, very interesting, while in the B2B it's a bit late, right?
Yeah,
they need it in hours.
Yeah, even if, Wassim, can we say that probably all the expectations that we have in B2C are now moving also to B2B. So we have to be prepared in B2B to build all the infrastructure able to answer in the same way at customers. So I know that is disruptive, okay? But that should be the vision.
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is exactly the vision from a dealer, from a retailer perspective. More and more, the retailers are, of course, they are users of the commerce, let's say, platforms. So they are more and more expecting also same experience for their retail shops.
Exactly. Life is one, so they don't see they don't want to see the difference, let's say.
Correct. Now, also today, our platform is providing other services that are more on the demand generation. And these are really to, you know, that this is a business game where incentives are very important. So we are also providing the ability to, whenever you sell, you earn in terms of incentives, and you also get your payout. So you can also redeem your loyalty or your incentives, whether that through cash or through vouchers, right? So we can. So this is also one of the part of the platform. Other services that we rolled out on the platform is what we call the last mile credit. You know that the business is. I mean, it's really important for them to buy even if they don't have cash. So this enables them to buy and pay later, right? So we have provided the ability for the retailers to buy and then. So this is really in a nutshell the platform services. I think a lot of those points are touching on the same exact points that you mentioned in the framework. If we can go to the next step, next slide. Of course, in terms of benefits, I mentioned some of them. Today, really, our three actors are retailers, the distributors, and manufacturers. If I look at the retailer, of course, from a retailer perspective, they have now one-stop shop. So they have access to all suppliers' products. They can browse, they can select the supplier's the product that they want based on their price or their needs. They order. Of course, they have a seamless experience on ordering. So there is no more anymore traditional way of ordering, layers of distribution that is not really the same of the supplier, and they can get delivered. Today, we're talking about delivery in 50, 60 minutes, sometimes maximum 2 hours. Of course, in this way, they can also grow their business through last mile credit that I mentioned before. So they don't worry about the cash that they have, and they can just buy and then they pay later. Now, from a distributor and manufacturer perspective, you can understand this is, of course, a bird's eye view, right? So today, because of the data engine that we have behind the platform, today, of course, this is giving a full visibility of the sales of the products and of course, a flexibility to compete with others. Now, this is in the next slide, please. What we've done is we've built everything and we decided to go out from Axiom completely. So we didn't really leverage the old technology. We've built a completely new team that is really working in an agile way, and we've built the technology cloud native. And we really have here two pillars. One is microservices architecture, and that allows us to be very modular. So today we are, for example, already talking about the B2B2Cs because of the lockdown. We said, okay, let's go ahead and start building the experience for the customers. And the other area that is very important for us, the data and the AI and machine learning, which is allow us a lot to, let's say, build on machine learning models that allows us to bring efficiency and to our supply chain. So that is a nutshell. I'm sure this is really just to confirm the traction that we've built. So today we wrote Axiom as a distributor, as a first distributor on this platform. We had the leverage to do that. And today we are mainly 70% of Axiom sales already going through the platform. We have 5,000 retailers, 8,000 salesmen, and we are delivering in 90 seconds. So this is really the traction that and now we are already preparing for the next distributor to be onboarded.
It's a really visionary, but I would say it's there, it's on the market, it works. So actually it is the present, not just the future, okay? I have a question. Which kind of barriers do you see in the ecosystem to follow a model like this? Maybe to try to work in the shoes of our audience.
Now, of course, I mean, there are a lot of barriers. One of the key barrier, of course, is to, let's say, be disruptive, because again, Axiom decided to disrupt its own business, right? So it's very important to relook completely at things in a different perspective, not from a traditional logistic way. So we drove the entire thing from an experience perspective, from what we want to achieve in terms of a frictionless experience, whether that for the customers or for the operations or for whoever is operating within this industry.
So actually, I think that you have put on the table different elements, not only for the relaunch, but also to build the new normal, I would say. So actually, you have also raised the ball to our next guest, Antonio. Just a message for the audience. So we are receiving a lot of questions in the Q&A session. We will have a Q&A session at the end, okay? So after Antonio's speech. So just to clarify, okay? Don't worry, we will try to answer to everything. So thanks a lot, Wasim. Please stay there because we need you in the Q&A. And let's give a welcome again to Antonio to design and lead together the new normal. Ciao, Antonio.
Thanks, Lucia. Thanks for the introduction.
Fantastic. So Antonio, actually, I would like to have you to describe your story quickly, because actually you come from the field, like me. You come from where the problems are and where problems should be fixed. And then you built your company actually to answer specifically to those needs. So I'm curious to listen to the story because I know the story.
Correct, Lucia. So my presentation, this presentation in particular, is going to talk more about my experience in doing disruptive innovation, and not just over the last 20 years, but lately in the last 3 years, the focus and experience of working with corporates or working with startups and trying to do disruptive innovation to sometimes prepare for situations like this, which no one can forecast, but sometimes even the smaller black swans that companies face every single day. So my background is automotive. I'm a car guy, always been a car guy. I've mostly worked in automotive for the exception of the last 3 years. And basically, I started doing consultancy for the automotive industry, introducing new technologies. New technologies will disrupt the market usually 10 years before they were launched. So we're talking something as simple like airbags, for example, or what technology should airbags use, and how will those impact the regulations, the clients, and that every single new technology will impact the supply chains as well, because sometimes suppliers introduce new technologies which will even disrupt their own supply chains and their own technologies. So for the last sort of 20 years, I've been doing it from airbags to autonomous vehicles and how those will have an impact. So I have a lot of experience in how to introduce new technologies to market and how to those impact society and how those impact supply chains as well. So most of my experience from sort of 2000, 2009 was mostly forecasting consulting. So we're doing a lot of data work. We're doing a lot of forecasting, and focusing how data models will drive the new technology. So most of my experience between sort of 2000, 2009 was focusing forecasting consulting. From 2009, 2012, I moved more towards the strategy side of it. So not so much focusing on the forecasting side, but okay, we know what's happening, what the data models are telling us. How can we use strategy to have a competitive edge on every market you're doing? Then after around 2009, 2012, things started changing. We started seeing a lot of startups coming into mind, into the ecosystem. Corporates wanted to learn from startups, but not doing a good job. Usually they were doing it by acquisition. By the time they acquired the startup and learned what technology they had, most of that value disappeared. So from 2012, 2015, I started to focus a lot on innovation with companies, how to do innovation correctly with the help or partnership with startups. The one thing I was realizing was the big problem was a lot of these ideas were being shelved by the big corporates. They were doing the work, they were doing the legwork, they were doing the reports, we were doing the presentations to the executive board, but in the end, they're not going to develop their own solutions internally. So most of the ideas were shelved, and usually good ideas that will disrupt the market or will make a major impact for these companies. So in 2017, I joined up with two partners, someone that came from the startup world. He was a CTO, someone that knows agile thinking. He already had two successful exits from a startup perspective in the US, and someone from fintech. The other partner has a master's in big data, and he knows a lot of blockchain. So those two sort of, with my experience from supply chain and manufacturing, we created another company called TechHQ, and TechHQ does exactly that. It sort of focuses on developing solutions with the help of corporates or without their help. If they want to sort of give it out to ourselves, we take care of it for them. So it's a completely different way of doing it. It's just doing consulting, we do the solutions as well.
I think that actually your journey perfectly reflects also the journey of everybody in the ecosystem, okay? Also at the beginning, starting to develop everything closed in the lab, and then also opening to the ecosystem, composed also by innovative startups as well.
Correct. So with big corporates, we almost force them to think agile thinking. And for some corporates, it's easy because they come from that world. For companies like, for example, from automotive, from legacy type of industries, it was really, really hard. And coming into, usually our teams within the companies were made up, so like an innovation director, some from the executive board, and then some kind of directors, either from manufacturing, from logistics, from supply chain, and usually form like a task team to create disruptive innovation with the company. But one thing we did was once everything was signed and ready to go, we had to do a proof of concept within 3 months. No excuses. 2 week sprints delivery, and we already set a date with the executive board to present that proof of concept, whatever that was. And for some companies, that was like unheard of, because disruptive and proofing concept for them was like 3 years, and we forced them to do 3 months. And if it were more than 3 months, we gave up on the idea. It just meant that it wasn't meant to be. It's not for you to proof a concept. You got to focus on those 3 months exactly. So we forced them, and it worked. It worked in a sense that all of a sudden, after 3 months, the executive board could see a return on their investment, and they could see something is actually proven, something was proven. And then from the proof of concept, we moved to an MVP, to a minimum viable product, bring in some partnerships or build a consortium. And then if that moved on, we moved to a market-ready solution. So usually from 0 months to about 18 months is the timeline we worked with our clients. So we built a lot of use cases over the last 3 years. We started with automotive. That was the easy picking, where we needed they needed the most help as well. I've been sort of a doomsday prophecy sayer for automotive for about 15 years. I don't see a bright future for my industry. I don't see them surviving a lot of companies for much longer. More or less, they're becoming commodity players. So for me, helping the automotive industry disrupt is very easy because I already had these solutions on sort of plan for many, many years. So we started working with automotive. What we realized is a lot of bad things that the automotive industry has, we could bring it from other industries to find solutions for automotive, and vice versa. Automotive has a lot of wrong things, but they have a lot of good things as well, especially in supply chains, for example. So we're picking ideas from different industries, mixing them, and even sometimes creating different partnerships from very unexpected partners, you should say that. For example, someone from pharma joining up with someone on automotive, or someone from oil and gas, forming partnerships with someone from pharma. So it doesn't make sense when you put it on paper, but in reality, it made sense.
Probably, yes, because probably supply chain is the only ecosystem where you can build innovation across totally different industries.
Correct. So we started learning a lot of lessons, and this sort of more or less shows a good example. Many of the use cases we did with corporates. Usually we come in and try and simplify things as much as possible. So disruptive innovation for them, usually it's this sort of big monster that creates a lot of problems, and it isn't. We try and simplify things to its bare minimum. And usually what we find out with big corporates is they've been investing in IoT for so long that they have IoT overload. They have too much IoT in the wrong places. So a lot of the things we did is started with Internet of Things, but put Internet of Things where it was most needed. And it was most needed usually what we call it the borderline. So between, for example, different divisions within the company, or with different parts of supply chain, or for example, between manufacturing and logistics, or logistics and marketing, for example. That's where usually IoT is needed. What we're finding is that companies have been buying IoT for so long now that they have an IoT overload. Then we've usually introduced a very simple layer of blockchain. And I say very simple because this is usually for internal reasons. And you might think internally there's no trust and transparency issues. There is a lot. Usually between divisions, for example, some of this manufacturing from a factory and then goes into logistics, it's a nightmare that we've been finding with companies. In between that borderline, there is no trust and transparency. And people start using a lot of different ERP systems, a lot of CRMs, different types of data that doesn't make that much sense. So when blockchain made sure that the data that existed was transparent, it was clear, it was of value. Once we had clean data, we moved on to data analytics. So it provides some value with that data that was gathered, whatever the solution you want. So this sort of pattern we're seeing here is first solution, but it's very much a template for whatever type of solution. And they apply to, there were exceptions to the rule, but applied to a lot of the use cases that we work with clients. Then machine learning is the one that everyone's talking about. It's hard to get there, but once you get there, if you can achieve it, it becomes very powerful. It sort of becomes that competitive advantage over all the competition. And then at that point, we are talking about disruptive innovation. But the big problem we found every step of the way was big data. Big data at the moment for corporates is the big problem. And the big problem is not from a technology perspective. The problem is from a people perspective.
Yeah. So
we started telling people that the importance here is value. It's not about technology. The importance is value, especially value life cycles. You got to understand your life cycle, whatever life cycle you're part of. It could be manufacturing, it could be a product, it could be a service. You got to understand the complete life cycle, 360 degrees of all you're providing. You don't have to be an expert in every part of the life cycle, but you got to understand it. That's the only way you can provide value. Because if you're creating a solution at one point, that solution is going to impact something on the other side. For example, one of the things that we kept seeing all the time with our clients was there was a huge missing link on a service side. OEMs were not doing a good job at it. Suppliers just didn't have the power to do it. So, for example, that's like Uber has become so successful in service providers like Uber, is because they managed to crack the code where the automotive industry couldn't do it. So automotive sort of left it, but the leaving it creates a huge barrier because they didn't have a full life cycle in automotive and mobility. That's a huge problem. So we started focusing on this as well as part of some of these solutions we have for clients. So a lot of our clients in automotive and manufacturing, they were doing blockchains. It was a big thing. I'm not one of those that flying the blockchain flag all the time. For me, it's more about disruptive innovation. Blockchain is one of those tools that's part of the toolbox. It's very powerful, it is, but I'm not sort of flying a blockchain solution as the only solution for all the problems. Usually it's a part of a combination of different technologies. But what we're seeing with a lot of our clients that wanted to do blockchain, there's two problems. They either tried to simplify it, very much so simplify to a point where they were ignoring all the problems and not reflecting the problems within the blockchain, or even worse, if the solution, if they wanted to cover the problems, usually sometimes covering the problems and embracing the problems is a good thing because you're aware of them, you know how to solve them. But they're not doing that. So it got to a point where we were advising our clients, especially in automotive and manufacturing, to do blockchain correctly. They didn't want to do it because it's a hard job. So we decided to do it ourselves within TechHQ. I gave the problem to our developers. I told them exactly, look, this is the problem we're having. And I was expecting our team to come back to me like in 3 months' time or maybe a year. And 3 days later, they come back to me with 118 lines of code. They programmed in Solidity. And we looked at the code, and this code, simple lines of code in blockchain, was solving what a lot of the problems of the supply chain had and tracking that supply chain. And so we called project INZIG. And INZIG is a system in blockchain that provides a fair distribution of value throughout the supply chain. I'll give you a very quick example. Let's say I'm a supplier of batteries for a vehicle. Let's say I'm Panasonic, just for the example's sake, and I'm providing batteries to Tesla, for example. At the moment, me as a Panasonic, I'm a commodity supplier. I'm selling that battery for a price that's based on manufacturing, let's say €1,000, and I don't get any value whatsoever. If that, for example, if that Tesla is used as a service, let's say like for Uber service, or if it's an autonomous vehicle in the future, it's going to be used automatically. Me, Panasonic, I'm not getting any of that value. What INZIG allows is for suppliers within the supply chain, if you're a bulk manufacturer or if you're a big system supplier, to gain value from a service if that vehicle is then used as a service automatically. So let's say Panasonic, me as a battery supplier, my battery is worth 10% of the overall vehicle cost and value. If that vehicle does a mobility service of €20, for example, I get automatically €2 back instantly. And that's for the overall supply chain. So it could be a tier 4, it could be a tier 1. What that allows is for me as a supplier, all of a sudden, I'm not a commodity supplier. I'm not just focusing on part price. I'm not just producing on units. All of a sudden, I can start thinking long term, and I can say, okay, I'm getting a lot more money than I was providing. Instead of getting, for example, €1,000 for my battery, I'm now getting €10,000 for that particular unit. So I'm going to invest more in research and development. I don't have to charge so much for my clients. And of course, there's a positive side and a negative side to it from that, because then I'm accountable for everything that happens in that supply chain. And my reputation goes on the line. So imagine we're now considering full supply chains, and we're considering that things go from cradle to grave, or cradle to cradle if you take recycling into account. All of a sudden, if that battery that I'm supplying costs, let's say €100 for recycling, then I've got to be accountable for that €100. So it's not just gain back, but it's a responsibility. What INZIG allows is a complete transparent and trust system for what I call value chains. So not just supply chains, but value chains. And it can be the base, not just for automotive, but future mobility services, future smart cities as well, because it allows a fair value distribution. And fair value distribution is very important for the future supply chains. Otherwise, companies are just competing on price. They're just becoming commodity suppliers. Whoever does it cheapest, they're based on production volumes. So especially European companies and US companies cannot compete, for example, with India, with China. But if you base things on value, it's completely transforms things. All of a sudden, you're not competing on production volumes.
Okay, so actually here we have the opportunity to move beyond what is the operational excellence into supply chain, but also we have the opportunity to build a totally new business model, leveraging the asset represented by the supply chain ecosystem itself. Okay, of course it is disruptive. I don't know whether it is the new normal or the probably new normal. But let's move together to the Q&A session. So I would like to invite you also Wassim and Andrea to join us again on this virtual stage, because we are receiving a lot of questions from the audience on the existing challenges and also on the new one. So Amanda is on the line, fantastic Amanda, and will help me to moderate the Q&A. So I would recommend to put in the Q&A questions, doubts, comments, even if you disagree on something, even provocation, and also ideas and solutions to design the new normal.
Thanks, Lucia. So we have a question from Santosh that says, what is presented in the session seems quite relevant for all time in today's competitive era for companies that are successful in general. Which of the elements do you see as hard for companies, and which ones are we facing due to black swan events such as COVID-19 emergency?
Okay. So Antonio, since you are the last, would you like to take this question?
What I see, and I've seen over the years, is that you can never forecast black swan events. I remember very clearly the 2008 crisis we had. There's nothing compared with this one. So you can never plan for things like this. What you can do is be at your best all the time. And being at your best all the time, it doesn't mean to always focus on black swans or expecting black swans. It's actually the opposite. It's be of value. So always think of disruptive innovation, of something that's of value, a win-win situation for the complete life cycle. If you do that as a business model, you're always on a leading edge what the consumers want, what the market wants as well. So it's not a case of shouting out that the sky is falling all the time, because then you're not focusing on the good things. It's focusing on complete life cycles and how your decisions every day, your manufacturing, your supply chain is affecting the bigger picture of the life cycle. Because if you do that, all of a sudden you start finding partners in the other side of the life cycle that could be helping you, and all of a sudden the consumer trusts you and they come on board. So for me, it's always doing disruptive innovation in a good sense, always thinking from a value perspective.
Yeah. I would say be at the best now and be prepared for the future. For example, artificial intelligence applied for the scenarios, modeling and planning can actually, you can prepare in advance, the potential directions in case of emergency. Amanda, what else?
For example, one thing very quickly, Lucia, one thing that I could say is a lot of the use cases that I mentioned for proof of concepts, and they touch blockchain, they touch machine learning. For our clients that went through that process, for them is lessons learned. So now they've done those lessons 2 years ago, they don't have to do them now in the black swan crisis. They already done it. So they already one step ahead of the people that didn't do it.
Exactly. Amanda?
Sure. Another question we received privately is, which is more important, supply chain automation or artificial intelligence for planning forecasts?
Which is the most important? They are two different things, okay? I would actually, if I can take, automation can help you to be efficient in your everyday life, cutting some non-value activities, let me say. The forecast, the prediction of the demand, for example, is also to reinforce the ability to react from the changes or unexpected changes of external environment. So I would start from automation for the basic topics, but I suggest you to build on the forecasting. Wassim, here, which is your vision, or would you like to add something?
Sure. I completely agree with you. So, of course, automation will allow you to do things that you do today in a much more efficient way, probably without interruptions, without, let's say, manual activities, right? While for sure, AI and machine learning, and especially when we talk about deep learning, these are practices that bring you to do things that you weren't doing before, right? So it allows you to explore areas where it was untapped before. So just to give you an example, probably if I may, today we in Hike we have two areas where we're applying heavily machine learning and deep learning. One is the delivery. So the delivery today, we use machine learning models to, let's say, reroute our vans and trucks to deliver. And this is where we achieve better results. While, for example, we use in another area for forecasting, for example, we use deep learning, where before we were using or manual things or statistic models to predict how much stock we need to deliver to certain retailers, right? Today, we're using machine learning to allow us to understand, to predict already day by day how much I need to go and replenish a certain retail with the stock before even he sell, right? So it's really predicting the sales, predicting the demand, and then acting on that immediately with the supply.
Fantastic. Yeah. Amanda?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ciao Massimo, we can hear you now.
I tried before, but probably my mute was locked. So now I just wanted to share considerations, especially probably on the previous question, but actually we are running this Black Swan initiative to identify solutions for our clients and in general for the audience. But we cannot generalize, I mean, because it depends on the status each company is in terms of maturity. But we want to share two principles that are very important. First of all is that, as I said at the beginning, this kind of condition is not creating new solutions. It's just accelerating the solutions that we already knew as useful in the new world. You know? It's just the speed of change, of transformation that needs to be increased. And the second consideration is that sometimes we wait months, years to start an automation, an artificial intelligence solution for supply chain and so on, while maybe in 3 months of project, there is a good achievement that can be reached. So starting now, maybe in 3 months, we can manage our supply chain differently. Of course, if we don't do anything, this is still a problem. So it's not general. Each one can have a step ahead. Each one can have a part of the transformation to accelerate. But of course, the speed is the key, I think, the key message in these sessions.
Exactly. I'm totally with you, Massimo, and I would say also agility. Because there are smart and lean methodologies to implement innovative solutions. So we don't need to build a cathedral. We don't need to put in place a 1-hour project to get the first positive results. So we can have even a pilot, we can experiment, and we can calibrate the technology, the solution even during the journey. Otherwise, it is too late. I hear several companies telling me, now we are blocked. We have to rebuild the phase 2, and then we will rethink again about the new supply chain. It will be too late. We have to do now. Okay. So Amanda, what else?
Okay, the last question we had was, how can I assure that my supply chain partners are not my weak point and that they are doing enough to be anti-fragile?
This is a fantastic question, because actually it highlights that the good result can be done only by the ecosystem. So if you manage everything alone, you are done. Andrea, would you like to comment, to answer to this question? So
Yes, Lucia. I think this is the question of these days.
Yeah.
Everybody now is asking himself the same question. There are not shortcuts. We need to monitor. We need to see. We need visibility of supply chain, visibility of suppliers, and we have to make digitalize and automatize all what we can do. We have different activities and with different modules to do that automatically, because the problem is that you have to see what's happening in your suppliers, and you have to weight the different suppliers, respect your business, you respect your strategy. And
Exactly.
It can be that a fragile supplier for you could be okay, and because for you is an ancillary supplier, so it's not important.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, with visibility on the supply chain, we can identify not only the critical elements, but the critical partners and help them to move forward. Yes, Massimo?
Yes, I think that supply chain strategies needs to look at a new dimension, a new additional dimension. As I said at the beginning, the focus in the past was to optimize, to make very efficient the supply chain, and of course to reduce the stocks as much as possible. Actually, it doesn't match with the current situation, no? Because out of stock today is a problem, and at the same time, the resilience, the anti-fragility of our partners is even more important than us. So I think that in the supply chain strategies, the new projects that will be done, this dimension has to be analyzed. Maybe we need to accept to have an increase of price on the market because of an increase of supply chain cost, because of an increase of resilience of our products. And this becomes in the market very relevant now.
Yeah, and redundancy as well, because if we identify some critical elements in the supply chain, and then we have to react quickly, we need to have some redundancy in terms of geography, in terms of technology and whatever. That is typically something that during the last decade, even more, we used to avoid, okay? Because redundancy was considered a cost, as you said. Actually now probably it is one of the elements that can help us to reach the flexibility that is required to survive and then to lead in the market. I would like to ask to each of the three speakers a last question. Give me in one word the suggestion that you have to, let me say, remove the cultural barriers to innovate in supply chain. Okay, so because sometimes it is not a question of technology, okay, it is not a question of having a strategy because everything is there, it's written, it is mainly a chance to look at the ecosystem and learn from the ecosystem. But there are some cultural barriers. The fact that companies are saying, I will manage the crisis and then I will come back again into innovative solution, it means that they are losing an opportunity. So which are your suggestions based on your experience? So let's start from Andrea.
Yes, I think that also in the organization, probably we have to realize an agile approach. We have to experiment, test if it's okay, and we do not have to be worried if something is wrong. It's normal. We have to test and go ahead. We have not, and this is not normal. Respect.
Yeah. So agility to remove the barriers. I love it. Antonio?
In my opinion, is as a constant, not just in times of crisis, but it's to recognize the problems and the weaknesses in your supply chain, in your systems throughout the life cycle. Because if you're aware of them, then if something goes wrong, you can support them, you can provide support to where the weakest link is all the time. Not ignoring them. No supply chain is perfect, no manufacturer is perfect. And a lot of the companies that I've seen that try to embrace this, that everyone's got to be perfect, don't survive. They usually, almost going back to this sort of few slides we had about Black Swan and the different ways of doing it. If you try to perfect, it doesn't work. Sort of the survival of the fittest is not the strongest or the smartest, usually the one that can adapt the most. The survive is very similar with supply chain and manufacturing, so the same. Going back to a quote from Winston Churchill, don't let the good crisis go to waste. I don't want to put this as in a good positive way, this COVID crisis, but there is opportunities here. Try and embrace some of the opportunities you have in your market and your industry.
So it's a Kaizen approach, I would say, every single day improvement combined with advanced technologies. Vasim, which is your vision?
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, agility here needs to be embedded within the culture of the organization, right? So it's not only for experimenting new things, it's the day-to-day work. So you sprint after sprint. And this is how it makes you agile to react also to any change in context, right? Now, another thing, of course, you need to base that on a data-driven context. So
exactly.
another thing, just to add on the agility side, I would say data-driven. So make sure that you are building your culture, building your decisions on data, right? Not on opinions, and that might also help again with the agility to react quickly and fast.
Thanks, Vasim. I think that your comment is crucial because many companies are facing a cultural challenge, actually, that is about the culture of data. Okay, there is no culture of data, even in companies that actually has started digital transformation years ago. Because one thing is the technology, another thing is the way we manage the technology, and we build a culture and an environment that is able to play with this new piece of asset that we build. Absolutely. Actually, this is exactly the kind of message we would like to give to everybody, because many cases we think the innovation is mainly about new products, new solutions to launch to the market, something visible, something that can create the wow effect. Actually, in our opinion, we think that innovation is in our everyday life. And this is the reason because we think that in supply chain, we can really make the difference. In supply chain is an everyday fight, like in any given Sunday from Al Pacino quote, okay? We have to fight every single day for an inch and then another inch. And this is exactly what you have highlighted before. Of course, technologies can help. Of course, we can even build a new business model, but it's a cultural challenge. We have to be conscious that we have to do this piece of innovation every single day to be ready to a new COVID, or in any way to be ready for new business opportunities in our market, together with the overall ecosystem, even inspired by the Antonio provocation that can show how blockchain can be used also to build a new revenue, and not only to certify, let me say, the chain. So that's all for today. Massimo, we leave the stage again to you for the closure of the event.
I want just to thank you all for being with us today, all the attendees. Still, high number is still connected. This means that very, very interesting. And of course, you can find also the replay of these sessions on the landing page of the event. I want to thank all you, Lucia, of course, and all the participants, Antonio, Andrea, and Wasim, for bringing their view and their experience. I think these are very good ideas on how to do something today and after tomorrow, today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow, for gaining this inch by inch, as Lucia was saying. I think that today we heard the very good stories, and thank you all for this contribution.
Thanks, everybody, and see you soon.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.